Legislative Committee meeting of the PSTA, and I'm Dave Albritton, your committee chair, and I'll go around the room, starting to my left. Everybody introduce themselves.
And Ellis County Commissioner Vince Nowicki.
St. Petersburg City Councilmember Deborah Figg Sanders and PSTA Chair.
Hello, I'm Brad Miller. I'm the CEO of PSTA.
All right. We may have Commissioner Walker by Zoom, but let him pop in when he can. So next item is,
In case he shows up, can we do the motion to allow him to
yes,
participate? on
okay.
Zoom?
Do we have a motion to allow him?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good. And do we have public comment?
I don't have anything.
Nothing? Okay. All right, so the only action item we really have today is approve the April 1st, 2026 minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. And next item on the agenda is state legislative update with Ron Pierce.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can everybody hear me?
Very well.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Ron?
Perfect. Thank you. I'm at a weird location this morning, so calling in. Quick update from Tallahassee. A couple of things. Number one, we had a special session last week, which you all have read about in the newspaper, I'm sure a lot. They passed new congressional maps last week. Let me spend a little bit of time on that. I'm sure Harry's team will spend a little bit more time on that than I need to. But number one, the maps they withdrew last Wednesday, they passed. Currently, there's a 28 Republican majority among the congressional delegation. Under the new maps, it would be potentially a 24-4 Republican majority. Let me be clear, though, is I'm not sure I completely buy into the 24-4 mix. Some of those new districts that have drawn are +6 or 8 Republican. I think plus or 6-8 Republican could be in play this cycle because of independents. We'll see. Do I think that Republicans may pick up a seat or two because of the new maps? I completely 100% agree with that. I would have told you without the Supreme Court ruling last Wednesday that there's already been 3 challenges filed against the maps. I think at this point, I think the maps will probably stand with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in place that came out last Wednesday, basically ruling against the Louisiana maps. I mean, basically what the ruling has said is you do no longer have to use race as a factor in drawing the map. So I would expect at this point the maps to stand. I think if they have to go to I think they'll do an expedited ruling to the Florida Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court, based upon the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling, I think will uphold the maps. Biggest impact on us from a PSTA standpoint is under these maps, Kathy Castro would no longer be a congressional member representing Pinellas County. They've pushed her district completely into Hillsborough County. And what they've done is they brought up the Buchanan seat, and Luna basically are the 2 congressional members now. If these maps, again, if they stand, they would be the 2 congressional members that represent Pinellas County. As you all remember, Congressman Buchanan has decided not to rerun. At this point, you've got a couple of Republicans that are running for that seat, and at this point, we'll see what happens from a Democratic standpoint. What Democrat decides to run for the Buchanan seat, since it does push into Pinellas County now. Next week, we go back to Tallahassee from a budget standpoint. The special session starts on Tuesday. It goes through the 29th. They actually ended at a pretty high number. The budget number they ended up at was about $114.6 billion was the negotiated number between the 2 chambers from an allocation standpoint. The one thing that was very interesting from an allocation standpoint was it's a little bit less from a recurring general revenue standpoint. It's about $1 billion less than I think the Senate wanted at the end of the day. So there will be some impact at the end of the day, but I don't think there'll be a lot of impact on transportation or other projects that probably PSTA cares about. Last thing from us, we are next week, in the next 2 weeks in Tallahassee, they're doing just budget. They're not doing property tax reform. They're not doing anything else at this point. So I would fully expect that we will be going back to Tallahassee sometime the end of May, possibly sometime in June, most likely June, to do property tax reform. They are going to do property tax reform. I know there's been a lot of talk about they're not going to do property tax reform. I fully expect them to do it. I think where the Senate is at this point, I think the Senate's probably more leaning towards taking the current exemption and possibly doubling it. So take it from 50 to 100,000. Maybe build in some version of an escalator, but they don't have to come back, every 5 or 10 years to have to deal with it. So I do fully expect them to do something on property tax reform, and I would fully expect them to do that probably sometime in June. Hopefully, once we get through budget next 2 weeks, we'll get through special session on property tax reform sometime in June. Obviously, we'll be watching that very carefully to make sure there's no impact from the PSTA standpoint. I am hoping that we will not have to go back for any additional special sessions, that we can get through the elections in November and then kind of regroup at this point to look at what session looks like going into 2027. Let me remind everybody, we go back to the normal calendar of elections in November, organizational sessions 2 weeks later. There will be some version of a committee week. Will most likely just be training in December. And then we have 2 committee weeks, probably in January, 3 in February. And session, I believe, starts on March the 2nd next year and ends on April the 30th. So I will stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee about the congressional redistricting, or more importantly about budget special session, which starts next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you, Ron. I just wanted to announce that Commissioner Kathleen Peters has joined us, and do we have any questions for Ron?
I have one. Who is representing us now? I know you said Congresswoman Luna, and who, I missed that.
It's Buchanan, and the Buchanan seat, Sidney Gruters, which is the wife of Joe Gruters, who's the chair of the National Republican Party. He is the one that's, Sidney's running, has announced she's running for that seat on the Republican side. She's already been endorsed by Trump and most of the other key Republicans out of DC. Again, that seat probably, if you look at the numbers, it could be a competitive seat. I think anything this cycle that's a 6 to 8, Republican majority on paper could be in play just because of independents. If you look at the special elections back in March, independents were breaking towards Democrats in a pretty big way. That's why the Democrats flipped the 2 seats here in Florida, the state Senate seat in North Hillsborough County, then also the seat over in Mar-a-Lago as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I've seen polls
May I
that
ask
say
a
the same
question?
thing.
Yeah.
Ron, what about the Florida constitutional amendment on fair districts that prohibits the partisan gerrymandering?
There was a lot of discussion on the floor among Republicans and Democrats on that issue. What they're going to say is the rules of engagement and change. The maps that are currently in place for the 20 to 8 passed that muster. They believe, even though it takes it now and changes it to a 24-4 majority on paper, that is still going to live up to that. Mainly because they're going to say the major rule that's changed here is you no longer have to draw the districts by race. By taking race out of the equation, that's why they feel that they have the ability to do this. They believe at this point, they feel pretty strongly that it's gonna stand a constitutional challenge.
Thank you.
All right. Brad?
Chair, and thank you, Ron, for that. Sort of related to the budget, something I know that you and I have talked about, but one thing we heard this spring was that potentially there was going to be a change to the state's longtime process for using what are called toll revenue credits to match federal funds for all transportation. And don't ask me, and maybe Debbie is our financial person. Not sure if she knows exactly how toll revenue credits came into be, but the tolls that are collected in Florida can count toward matching of federal funds. It's not a real match. It's not real money. It's a credit. And so, like when you get $1 million federal grant, usually that's 80%, 20% for a road or a bus. In the state of Florida, because of these toll revenue credits, you get the $1 million, and that's what you have. And then the match is sort of there. Well, there was talk that that was going to be eliminated or reduced, that the state was no longer gonna do that. But I heard earlier this week and last week that those fears were allayed. And I heard on Tuesday that, well, I guess they have to approve project by project your use of the toll revenue credits. And they approved the matching of the ferry boat grant, which is needed since we approved purchasing of 2 used ferry boats with the grant. So that was a very good sign. And it was something that I was a little worried about since
Yeah.
the Hubbards are about to go get these boats. So,
It's good news.
yeah.
Yeah, Brad, we had heard early on, and you and I talked about this. I think we were pretty confident anything that was already in the pipeline was not going to be impacted. I think it was hopefully going to be more on future projects.
Yeah.
I think they seem to be shying away from that at this point as well. So, but that was definitely good news for PSTA.
Okay, any other questions for Ron? Thank you so much, Ron.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, next item on the agenda is federal legislative update with Harry Glenn.
And Harry is not here today, so we have
It's not Harry.
It's not Harry.
Harry, hi, my name is JP Dowd. I'm a vice president here at Vanscoik and have joined Harry on the team after 30 years on the Hill. And enjoyed meeting Madam Chair and Brad this past time they were coming through Washington. Harry is on family travel this week, and I was going to give the update whenever it's appropriate.
Okay,
You're good.
let's hear it.
Go for it.
So really fascinating to hear about the redistricting and the things that are going on. We've been tracking it as well for Florida, but also around the country. As mentioned, the Supreme Court ruling last week really has thrown things into another round of uncertainty for redistricting and gerrymandering all around the country, to the point where you have what's going on in Florida, but also Louisiana and Alabama are now actually suspending their primaries as they plan to try and actually change some of their districts between now and the November elections. So it's really having an impact that we're following. Specifically to Florida, of course, that change for Representative Castor, and she has put forth a request and made one of the requests for the ferries for this appropriation cycle, which I'll touch on in a second. So that just makes it interesting that she has put into a request for the ferry. But as things are unfolding here, she may not represent the district as she's running for it. We'll have to see and keep tracking with that. I don't think there would be any change, but it's just a dynamic we need to be aware of and to stay in touch with. Let me start with highway bill. The reauthorization of the highway bill is moving forward in the House, but hasn't gone to markup yet. The hope was the markup was going to be on the 13th. That has now slid and is definitely going to slide at least until the 19th. The negotiations, they really are trying to come up with a bipartisan bill. You really try and move forward with this type of bill in a bipartisan way if you can. And the negotiations are really centering around the size of the bill. I think the chair wants, in the neighborhood of $550 billion, and the ranking member, and it really is looking for like $600 billion. So that's a number that everybody is working with. There also is how to pay for this. The declining revenue from, the gas tax has definitely put an impact as to how to pay for this bill. The chair has put forth an annual registration fee based on the weight of a vehicle as a possible bill payer. And there's other bill payers that are being tossed out there. So these are all negotiations that are going on. We have been working, and Brad has been working on this as well, to really alert folks and get a potential legislative provision to update the FDA drug testing regulations on TNC services. Brad and you folks have been just at the forefront of using these services. And Brad can go into this more about what impact it would have, but we're very concerned about a rule on the drug testing and how that might impact. Everybody wants every vehicle driver to be safe and cleared, but the way this is getting impacted would have a serious impact on how PSTA uses these TNC services for your transit system. I'll slide over to appropriations right now. The president did submit his proposed FY27 budget. The appropriations committees on the House side are very, very expeditiously moving forward with markups on the bills. And the House appropriations is actually scheduled to be marked up on May 21st. That's actually where we will see whether Representative Castor's request, and she made, House members, I'll just remind everybody, are limited by the number of what requests they can make to the committee. And she prioritized and put PSTA's ferry in there as one of her requests, which is just a great show of support. And now, as the committee takes all these requests, we'll have to see whether that bill gets marked up and includes her request. The hope is that it will be, and that would be another up to the request was for $2 million for additional funds for a ferry. And that markup would be on May 21st, and we would see somewhere around then, sometimes it's a few days after the markup when they release the final charts, as to where that stands. As for appropriations in general, the House is really expeditiously trying to mark up and get them to the floor, and by their hope passed by the end of June. The Senate is a couple of months behind, and it is a slower process over on the Senate, and that's just moving forward at the usual pace. But in the end, everybody is just thinking that we will be, because it's an election cycle, we will be having another continuing resolution, almost certainly for the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. Almost certainly we'd have continuing resolution until after the elections, and then we would have a lame duck session to come back and decide whether to wrap up the appropriations bills and process, or, as you saw or remember this year, get punted into the next year. Just for situational awareness and update, in case you haven't seen, the Department of Homeland Security shutdown has basically on a path to no longer be shut down. The House and Senate and the President signed an appropriations bill that covered and restarted all of the agencies within the Department of Homeland Security except for ICE and CBP on a separate track. And so those are now open, and there's no longer a shutdown for Coast Guard, everything else, CISA, everything else under Homeland Security. ICE and CBP are budgets are being put into a bill we call a reconciliation bill. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. It is a bill that requires only a 50 vote threshold instead of the 60 vote if you have a filibuster. And this narrow reconciliation bill would fund ICE and CBP for 3 years. That is making its way through the Senate and the House now, and is expected to be to the president by Memorial Day or June 1st. Happy to take questions or if anything I haven't touched on, and really good to be with you this morning.
Well, thank you, JP. Any questions for him?
I've got a quick question.
Yep.
You mentioned ICE and Customs Border Protection. Will that include FEMA as well?
FEMA is open and open for business.
Okay.
So, sorry, everything under Homeland Security. So the actual Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and Coast Guard, Secret Service, all the agencies under Homeland Security except ICE and CBP are now funded for this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And the day that they opened, Debbie got a call.
Yes, we're having a meeting on Thursday with our FEMA representatives to hopefully finish up and, as I put it, badger them to get our checks to us, because it's around $859,000.
Yeah. Yeah, they're slow with everybody, so we're hoping that'll
2
come through as
years
well.
after the hurricane.
Yeah, we received money for the marina repairs as well.
Fantastic. And Brad, I forgot to touch on it, sort of, it's a side note, but it's one we've been working on with Brad. Congratulations on, sort of, it's odd to say this, but that San Fran got their electric ferry dollars released, right? So,
Yes.
Well,
that is, we call it a sausage machine. Sometimes it's not only working directly for PSTA, but we were behind the scenes trying to nudge things along for San Fran, knowing it would have a potential benefit for PSTA.
There you are, thank you.
Absolutely.
A huge thing.
Great benefit, because now we have, as Brad and I were talking yesterday, we'll have 2 boats similar, so that's a
Yeah.
The
good thing.
fleet builds, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So what JP is describing, I got a call on Friday from the executive director of the San Francisco agency. They had actually revised their grant application to request that the DOT allow them to use the money that had been granted, that had been on hold, to invest in their diesel ferries. So that was approved. They got a call from DOT on Friday that was approved. So they were very happy. They're gonna take the sale of the Bay Breeze vessel to their board, which at least he didn't think would be a problem, to us on next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is their board meeting. And I think that, and Al's working with Mark Hubbard to get out there and check
Yep.
out
Check it
both
out.
these 2 vessels, yeah,
Yep.
and do the test. So, very good there. Just a couple comments on what JP said. Well, first of all, welcome JP. JP, I met him when we were just in Washington DC, and he and I went to meet with the Senate Transportation staffer about the ferry and the Uber and Lyft stuff. And we went to this little coffee place right in the Senate building there. And I was, standing there waiting for my coffee to be delivered, and they said, Brad Miller, latte, whatever. And then JP stuck out his hand, watch out, Brad, Senator. Senator, and this senator got his latte first.
Oh.
So thank you, JP.
It was Senator Schiff from California.
Okay.
But very, very nondescript. He was just coming in and getting his latte, and
But it was actually at the conference, the lawyer for the Federal Transit Administration, and this is the first time I've heard any member of the administration say, announce to the crowd that they were working on a revised regulation to modernize the drug testing regulations to allow TNCs like Uber and Lyft to
Nice.
operate. And I went up to him afterwards, and he didn't want to say anything further because they're working on it. But that was very positive. And then the moment that the session ended where he was speaking, that the lobbyists for Uber and Lyft came up to me and Brad, did you hear what the guy said? So it seems like that what I heard was that it's likely that no matter what the regulations happen in that the DOT does, that the reauthorization, the new highway bill will maybe include some language from Congress that would require or allow for TNCs to exist. And so that's what the hope, as we were going to talk to the Senate about. And as JP said, the appropriations this year is a little squirrely because the transportation bill authorization bill expires on September 30th. And the last bill was used a lot of, I don't really understand it, but advanced appropriations, basically loans to itself, because the gas tax is not keeping up with the expenditures. for transportation, and so they use this advanced appropriations. Well, the President Trump's proposed 2027 budget appropriations, he couldn't use any of the advanced appropriations because it didn't exist. It doesn't exist past September 30th. So I know there's a lot of discussions about it, exactly how, if there is, it sounds like there's gonna be an extension, how not only the appropriations could be extended, but the authorization bill could be extended also. So I guess that's
Yeah, so the House is moving forward with the reauthorization bill. Again, the Senate is, I shouldn't say it, but taking its sweet time on this. And it's not as far along on the reauthorization as well. So there's a lot of factors that need to be settled as both the authorization bill and the appropriations bill move forward. So, but we'll also get a first glimpse, like I said, on hopefully the 19th on the House authorization bill and on the 21st on the House appropriations transportation bill.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for JP?
No, thank you, JP. Again, you were a phenomenal host when we were in DC, and we appreciate you.
Oh, Madam Chair, it's great to see you, and also I used to always you probably won't know where this is, but my grandparents lived on Williams Boulevard, so I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing you all at some point, and then also driving by that house where I have a lot of fond memories.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you.
Take care.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other business to be brought forward by this committee? Okay, then I'll adjourn the meeting. Next meeting is June 3rd at 9 a.m.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank
Hey, JB. All right, good.